Hi all, I'm Red. Join me today as we answer the question, The Thing, the game, the remaster, is it any fun to play? Now the video game follow-up to the 80s sci-fi icon that is a personal favorite of mine. The movie has timeless atmosphere and tension, the way things slowly ramp up as things start to fall apart around them, as the things plunge them deeper into chaos, turning friends on one another, and a real level of dread that is truly hard to top even to this day. Now I had seen the remaster doing the round over the years and I thought now's a good time as any to get stuck in and check it out. The game opens with a flashback of sorts for those who hadn't seen the movie, as we get a glimpse of some CCTV footage from the Norwegian base as the Thing really ruins the day. Now once the game has set up the world for the new and first timers, we meet our hero for this tale, Blake, and he's commanding Officer Whitley, as we see Blake's team doing a flyover of the remnants of the American base from the movie. Therefore, upon landing we get introduced to the game's freezing mechanic. If you or one of Blake's men is exposed to the elements of far too long, you can go the way of the dodo. Now upon dismounting the chopper and making our way inside, we meet the three classes of buddies we'll be with on this journey: the engineer, the soldier, and the medic. Now the medic is your walking health dispenser. The engineer likes to open broken doors, and the soldier shoots stuff pretty good. Now in a move I rather like, the first level is completely enemyless, as it doubles as the tutorial teaching you the game's various mechanics to do with squad maintenance and their trust. In a game about suspicion, a gun or some health goes a really long way. If your friendly's trust is too low, they won't follow or support you, so investing in them is time well worth it, as they're surprisingly great in fights. Therefore, once we've gotten the intro stuff out of the way, we really start to explore the American base. We find McCready's blown over shack and his tape he made in the science lab, but the tutorial level isn't shy on the intrigue. We find the remnants of a frozen child, but no McCready. Where could he have gotten to, eh? But half frozen to death, there's no time to stop and chit chat, as Whitley radios in asking for Blake's team to blow up the remains of the American base. Now as Blake and his squad make short work of the American base, we're off to support our friend's Alpha team.
Blake, do you read me?
Roger, Colonel, this is Blake.
Have you found anyone yet?
Nothing yet. I just arrived.
Now upon landing in front of a series of buildings with some down lighting and one door blocked off by a broken power line, the game really sets the mood well. The winters feel harsh and brutal. Visibility isn't too great, giving off a real sense of isolation. Now Blake is on his own out here, but Blake can't be outside forever, so we head inside, flip a junction box, as we get glimpses of the little thinglings, I guess? Creepy crawler type enemies, small and fast moving. Therefore, once Blake has sorted the junction box out, we find one of Blake's men, Carter, trapped inside that's panicked and half frantic. Backing back to the trust mechanic from earlier, Carter asks Blake for a medic, so we dash out in search of one. Now we don't manage to find Carter a medic, but we do score him a gun. So we head back to Carter, give him the gun, and patch him up ourselves. Thankfully, all this effort gaining Carter's trust has scored us an engineer who's kind enough to power up the nearby comms junction box. Now after getting the comms box powered up, we spot the code we need on a door that we can access, giving Blake the ability to get into the next room. But the room key isn't all we find on the cameras. We find the eye sample of the Norwegians dug up from their initial dig site and a frantic soldier hiding in the corner next to it. But after a quick chat and a reunion, we get our first taste of combat. A bunch of those little thinglets we got a glimpse of earlier, fast and tricky to hit, like to take small chunks out of your health if you let them. But once we get ourselves and our squad out of that little jam we were just in, our next area has us searching at some of the nearby outbuildings when we come across Pierce, who, guessing by the room around him, has definitely seen some shit and comes out blasting the flamethrower. The smart cookie doesn't off the bat trust Blake, so we head off to get some blood tests from the nearby dog kennels. Now along the way, exploring all the blue lights and where they lead, scoring some extra supplies, and finally coming to the kennel. And a swarm of those little thinglets from earlier ambush us, but my squad mates make very short work of them. Therefore, once we link back up with Pierce, we gain his trust, but get ambushed by two of our former buddies, who wait for the worst time to attack Blake. But anyways, after that little barbecue, me and Pierce head out the back. But because this storm is a crazy one, we immediately lose Pierce in the weight of the storm. But that deafening silence is cut short as Blake's friend Pace is chucking grenades at him, and rightfully so. Blake isn't too pleased about it. Now therefore, after Blake has said his piece with Pace, the two explore more of the surrounding buildings and come across another Alpha survivor, who before he will get us to the comms room, we need to clear the area. It's new enemy time. We get introduced to the Thing Walkers, man-sized things that like to bum rush you in close range or just goof about, depending on the situation. A bug hunt of sorts as we track down the 3 walkers stalking the base as we head back to our buddy. And I do really like the mechanic of keeping your men prepared to fight. Makes the team feel useful, as I don't think this game really encourages the one-man army approach. Now our new buddy gets us into the radio room, and we see Pace freak out and calm down at the drop of a hat.
Oh man, this don't look good!
The fear scripting isn't always spot on, and sometimes just a little bit funny. But the taste of combat is over, and in the next level we get a full buffet. Blake and the boys have the radio room to hold off and protect from various waves of walkers and thinglet enemies. This whole section is quite fun, but the ammo room turns this whole fight into a lawn mowing session. Therefore, after we send a few dozen of thinglets and walkers to the ash pile, we emerge deeper into the Norwegian base, tracking down some people from earlier. But before Blake yet again freezes to death, we need to find our way inside. So we head for a nearby outbuilding, tussling with several walkers and thinglets. But unfortunately, I lose both Pace and Pierce due to stress, and now must push on alone. Therefore, after finding the key to the weather station we need, we head inside. Now I almost buy it, thanks to the game's attempt at jump scares. The camera likes to pull away from you and show you the spook, but time doesn't stop while all this happens, so a walker literally walks up to me in the middle of the cutscene plays, but thankfully our old friend Mr. 12 Gauge saves my bacon. The pesky Norwegian warehouse isn't accessible, so Blake heads for the roof and we break in through a high up vent. But this warehouse isn't populated with just things and thing accessories. We find a fellow Arctic Marine trapped in the office dealing with his superfans in true thing fashion. We flame their desires. We get our new engineer friend to power up a catwalk and sneak onto the dig site manager's office to get us a keycard for the underground. Therefore, at our side and keycard in hand, we set off for what awaits us underneath. But we find underground the first boss of the game, now an absolute unit of a thing creature. They kind of reminded me of the dogs that they were turned into in the movie. The same teethy, grimy feeling. The boss is easy enough, you can circle strafe around him, and your engineer buddy survives just long enough to help out a little bit before getting turned, so we have to flame them both. The boss fight is definitely loud and chaotic, it gives a real oh shit feeling, but it's pretty damn easy. Blake, after surviving that mess, bloody but not bothered, Blake now needs to head off to the research bunker and properly search for a Dr. Faraday and get some radio contact with base. But to gain the deeper access to the facility we need, our first stop is restarting a nearby generator in a nearby basement, unlocking our access to the control room. Fighting through a handful of walkers and about 100 thinglets or so, I noticed something about the walker AI. I've seen many people say that they aren't very threatening, but I feel like their scripting to attack you is very short range. I've seen lots of attacks that quickly go nowhere, which leads me to think that this is one of those limitations of the early 2000s game design. They were doing their best with what they had at the time. Nowadays though, it doesn't play too great. Dealing with that generator and our indecisive walker friends, we come to the central research area control room, but you need to use mild caution here, as opening the wrong pod or too many may get poor Dr. Faraday killed. So it's worth scoping the area out first and devising a solid strategy. Therefore, after we've cleared out the surrounding research pods, we come upon Dr. Faraday, who happens to be voiced by the legendary John Carpenter himself. Once having Faraday in, we backtrack through the facility, but the welcome isn't all hunky-dory for our old pal Faraday, as Whitley decides it's finally time to reveal his master plan and betrays both Blake and Faraday himself. Shocking, I know. I didn't expect the guy who had Blake destroy all the American base as a loose end could be bad. Now, revelations aside, Blake awakens in an operating theatre to watch the good Dr. Faraday sabotaging some of Whitley's equipment, only for Whitley to shoot Faraday as well. Now, Whitley the nutter thinks that he's special and can somehow control the thing virus within him, which is slightly mind-boggling. But after that little fiasco, Blake awakens weaponless in the very same theatre we just saw a moment ago. This section of the ward might be one of the best in the game. You need to rely on your buddies to protect you, so playing into the trust in shared weapons mechanic from earlier as you desperately dodge patrolling walkers in the halls. This section is quite tense as you see firsthand how short you are on supplies and your team having to deal with these threats and the unknown that lie in wait. Therefore, after dealing with that overgrown walker patrolling the halls, we now need to clear out the examination room of all those creepy crawlers. Desperately searching for a way out, we clear the area and find an engineer hiding in the specimen tanks at the back of the ward. But that's only the first part. Now, we need to fight our way through the maze of corridors, repair doors, as we go looking for a faithful code to lift to escape. Now, after that good little bit of tense gameplay, it's back to dealing with Whitley's soldiers. After a fighting escape from the facility, with a few survivor Marines left, we're ambushed on our way out by a large number of equally harmless soldiers. Their AI is very similar to the walkers. They're only a threat at super short range, but the facility isn't quite out of the surprises for us. As we make our way out, Blake happens upon a bomb and he has to beeline it for the exit before being turned to ash. Now, thankfully, after all that underground chaos, we're back outside again. We come coming face to face with a new enemy, flame troopers, who I don't think hit me once my entire playthrough. Now this section is halfway decent. We're clearing out a series of warehouse spaces, lots of tight corners and an ambush or two. I can honestly say I'm not having a too bad time right now. There's even a little section which is ripe to cause infight. There's a massive bullish looking walker around that's hidden behind glass, which is a fun way to have slightly less enemies to shoot. But finally tracking down the C4 we need, we head off to nearby hangars to give Whitley's planes a structural makeover. Crawling around his airfield looking for the switches to flip and taking full advantage of the first person mode to make very short work of his men, we stalk through the blizzard hunting down the planes. Points to the atmosphere in this level. The blizzard is heavy and feels very oppressive. As we're searching kind of blindly through the snowy haze, it's definitely a vibe. But this level, although it may perpetuate vibes, is fairly short and sweet, as after blowing the 4 planes, it's a short stroll to the control room, to the control tower, and to escape. Therefore, once the planes are out of action, the next stop on this journey of journeys is a nearby underground mine, and we come to a notorious winding walkway through with turrets and full of pipes that want a piece of you, a metric ton of enemies, and a real lack of non-shotgun ammo, so I was hoping and praying with the turrets. But after that walkway, we emerge into a series of underground passages full of those pesky defense turrets. But thankfully I had a medic as backup. But not so thankfully, I only had a shotgun, and this is one of those games where the shotgun has a range of about 1 meter, so cue lots of sprinting in and out of cover until my way forward clear. Once the way is clear, we come upon 2 engineers in this section, admin, both not trusting each other and the guns pointed at one another. It's a great thing first moment, as they have a standoff of sorts until you go over and test one of them, and the one that comes up negative helps you deal with the one who isn't. Great little scene. Now this game has a ton of flaws, but I can say it does have some solid moments, captured the distrust and paranoia of the original. A confession, I haven't really talked much about the bosses of this game so far, because the first 3 are basically your classic circle strafe or pop in pop out of cover variety, so I'll just say they aren't to the game's strong suit. Now back to the action, and we catch up with Blake as it's now time to escape this burning facility again before he gets roasted. But it's finally time for the final showdown. Blake chases Whitley through some snowy buildings and outdoor areas, dealing with the remainder of his soldiers as he goes, finally catching up to the fucker in a nearby site. But Whitley's superiority isn't as superior as he first thought. He quickly turns into an overgrown thing beast, and he's the final boss. This one's another cinch. It's a turret section that has you shoot out some nearby oil drums and then just keep hitting him until game over. Now it's finally time to answer the question from the start of the video. The Thing, the game, remastered? Is it fun to play? Well, I really wanted to sing this game's praises, but the fantastic atmosphere and occasional great set piece don't outweigh the weak combat, the enemy AI being mostly non-threatening like 80% of the time. I mean, the game does the atmosphere very right. The oppressive snowstorms, tight corridors with its many labs, but I don't think it's super enjoyable to play. Only get it if you're curious or a fan of the series. Thank you all for watching. It's been a fun year. I wish you all a good new year, and I'll see you in 2026 for Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.